We knew when we were put together as a company that we would be making some rather spectacular pieces which brought together nearly every aspect of theatre that you can think of. It became apparent within our first few performances that we did that one of our strengths as a company is storytelling. So we knew that we should play to this strength in our final project. And what better story to choose than a Greek myth as elaborate as the Abduction of Persephone?
The aim of our piece was to create a new spin on an old Greek tragedy, and instead of making it a tragedy, we wanted to make it into a play with comedic elements in it, not a comedy. And we wanted to create the piece to give it a more light-hearted feel for the audiences to watch. We were aiming to aim around for young adults, so aged around 16 to 18, and we wanted the show to be more understandable for younger audiences so that it wasn't, as people describe it, as dull old Greek tragedy. So we wanted to liven that up. And so our rehearsal process started with us deconstructing the tale, and we began by character association and character development. So we looked at all the characters that we had, and we had to decide who was going to be who and how we would work on those and develop those.
Hi, I'm Billy and I play Persephone in The Abduction of Persephone. As a group, we worked towards our character development very early on in our rehearsal process. We found that it was vital to physically embody our characters and to really physically show who we were rather than try and create that within our script. So for us, that was a very key exercise for us to do. We did this at the beginning of our rehearsal, as I said, and everyone did everyone's character. We all took up the space and physically embodied who we wanted to show, and then from that we used elements of everyone's performance within our final to kind of really work together and decide who our characters were and how we felt that we should represent them as a group. We furthered this individually. We worked on them in our own time, and we also collaborated on hot seating. So we hot seated each other, we asked the questions that we thought were important, and we tried to figure out what drove the characters and what really motivated these characters. For me, playing Persephone, I found her extremely exciting. There were many elements of my past that I could draw on to really mould and shape Persephone as a character.
I played the character of Artemis, who is the goddess of the hunt. She's also the goddess of the moon, but we don't concentrate on that in this play. Originally, her part should be played by Hermes, as Hermes in the original version of this story is the one that goes out to search for Persephone after she has disappeared. However, in our play, we wanted to focus more on the female characters. So instead of having Hermes out to search for her, we had Artemis, goddess of the hunt, going on a hunt for Persephone, searching for her for a period of time that revolves over a year. She's a very headstrong character. Her main focus is that she is a virgin goddess, meaning that she doesn't care for men at all and she does not approve of love. I think this is kind of what creates a lot of the comic tension, especially between her and characters like Pan, Aphrodite, and even to a certain extent Hera, because they all portrays as certain part of a relationship. Pan is like the young sexual tension, and Aphrodite is the love, and then Hera is the marriage. The only one Artemis really gets along with is Athena, who is symbolizing kind of the desolation and knowledge after a relationship like that, and the solitude after it. So yeah, she doesn't really get along with anyone. But she's great fun, and she's a very strong and independent character, which I really like, and I really enjoy playing her.
In The Abduction of Persephone, I'm playing Aphrodite and Hades. In the early stages of rehearsal, we had planned for me to play Hades as a quiet, introverted, heavy metal-loving male character. However, it became apparent when we began read-throughs of Elena's wonderful script that it would make the show more relevant if we changed Hades to a girl. The nature of Hades and Persephone's relationship in the myth can draw parallels to the social taboos that surround living a homosexual lifestyle in today's society, therefore making the piece more relatable to our target audience. We have made other changes to the original story, such as Demeter sending Artemis to look for Persephone, rather than Zeus sending Hermes to look for her. We wanted to show a female empowerment through the Greek plays, as many of them are focused largely on male gods and the goddesses are overlooked. We want to show the true nature of the gods within our story. For example, I play Aphrodite, who most people think as the goddess of beauty and desire should be all sweet and lovely. But we wanted to show the more vain and manipulative side that love can have through her character. Similarly with Helen's portrayal of Hera, the goddess of marriage, she's playing her as a perfect housewife who seeks control over her family and has become sour and quite nasty sometimes due to her husband's promiscuity.
We felt halfway through that we could make it a lot more interesting if we included physical theatre in it as well. So we looked a bit like Pina Bausch and we tried to sort of incorporate that into our performance. So we decided to take the 4 seasons, which was Pan, which was spring, and Sexual Awakening, and do a performance around that. So we had me, Rosie and Billy performing a scene together where they were all over me, and it was very sexual. Then we did a scene for Aphrodite, which was summer, and it was a love scene between me and Maddie. And then we had a scene with Hera, which was autumn, and she's the goddess of marriage and family, so we decided to portray the perfect family that she incorporated in the world. And then we did Athena. She was a goddess of wisdom, but we didn't really know how to put that across. And then we sort of thought about her backstory, and that she actually was very lonely, and she was always surrounded by her brothers, always arguing and fighting. So we decided to change that as well, and we did a scene where she was in the middle, being entrapped by us 4, her family, and she sort of broke out, and obviously became the goddess of wisdom. And then, yeah, my contribution towards the piece was more of the comedy element. None of the other groups had used comedy before, and comedy was my favourite type of theatre. So we decided to try to incorporate that and break the boundaries.
The script was a long process. I'm also a creative writing student, so I devised most of the script. We started off with the initial thought of keeping it a bit more traditional, the story a bit more traditional. Hades was originally a boy. So having that changed into a girl, in a sense, made the story writing easier. I was able to focus a lot more on what kind of images you would have then. We were very focused on the relationship that developed between Hades and Persephone, making it a healthy relationship and an innocent one, because they're both quite young in our play. I think that is quite an important thing that we need to focus on as a group. That was kind of the innocence of these 2 people, which is also why we don't have any strong scenes, we don't have any kissing. It's just portraying love between 2 girls, which is really the important part.
At the end of the day, our piece, The Abduction of Persephone, is a unique piece of theatre. It is multimedia, multi-practice, multidisciplined, and it's entertaining. We've taken a classic Greek myth and completely created a script from scratch from it, and better yet turned a tragedy into something that has comedic elements and entertaining elements. We've managed to take something, put elements of everything in, as well as the comedy and the movement and the naturalistic acting that we had. We also had elements of a message. The lesbian relationship was just as taboo as a relationship between the goddess of flowers and the big, mighty god of the underworld would have been. And also, we have taken the female gods from Greek myths that hardly ever get a shout in, and we've empowered them so much that this story is theirs. I mean, yes, we have Zeus and Pan, but really we painted them in a light where they were misogynistic, they were negative, whereas our female characters like Artemis, Persephone, Hades, Athena, Hera, they were strong and they had agency over their own lives. So it's a message theatre that means something. So I had fun doing it, and I'm really proud of the piece that we have.